I don't know.
How did y'all do out there?
What?
How did the still go out there?
Where?
The rummage still.
I don't know.
No idea. Good. Okay, that's good.
Good morning. I call this meeting to order at 9:30. Do we have the video on? Okay, great. I'm going to say the announcements one more time about cell phones. Please take a look at your phones and ensure they are on silent or off. Appreciate that. Present is Vice President William Link, Treasurer Deborah Isaacs, Director Dan Sullivan, and myself constituting a quorum. Also present are Mr. Philip Garcia, Acting Executive Officer, and Ms. Christina Rodriguez, Executive Secretary. Please rise for the invocation given by Mrs. Katie Brown and remain standing for the reciting of the pledge to the United States and Texas flags.
Lord, we ask your blessing upon this meeting to guide our board in the decisions that they make today, to guide us in our respect for the board. We ask that you be with us in a powerful way. We pray for our country. We pray for the situation here on the border with the illegal immigrants and for situations here on the court. We ask that you guide us in all that we do so that what we do is to your glory. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Directors, the minutes from the May 15, 2019 board meeting were provided in your board packets on Friday. Are there any corrections? We'll start with Mr. Sullivan.
No.
Mr. Link?
No.
Ms. Isaacs?
No.
And I also have no corrections. Seeing that there are no corrections, all in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, signify by raising your hand. Minutes are approved. Ms. Isaacs, do you have a report?
Financial report. Yes, I do finally have one.
Please speak into the microphone, ma'am.
Yes, I do have a report. The treasurer's report for May, Fort Clark Springs Association revenue was $179,335.93. The May expenses were $226,102.29 for a net negative of $46,818.84. Just to let you know, some of the things have gotten behind. We're trying to get everything caught up. Some of our, everything's kind of being transferred back into our accounting department instead of certain other people being able to get information. But we're slowly getting everything back into the accounting department. So we're trying to play catch up and get everything back on track to where we're not paying 1 month, two different bills. So that's why the negatives. On our Los Morris account, the Los Morris revenue was $6,346.63. The expenses for Los Morris were $3,443.53 for a net profit of $2,903.10. That's the financials I've got so far. Upon doing some investigation, back at about the middle of May, realized that nobody had opened up our envelope for our taxes. When I finally opened that up around the 18th, 19th, or 20th, I'm not sure what the date was, we found out that the tax office had increased the value of about 6 of our properties. Some of those were over double the amount. So Thursday, Bill Link and myself are going to go protest those raises in the appraisal of our properties. That's what I got to do tonight. Get that all ready. But I just thought it was very important to the membership to know that in the investigation that we did find these things that needed to be done, and we had filed the protest paperwork. I don't see Linda O'Brien. I promised Linda O'Brien that I would have the financials for the historic building.
Debbie,
Yes.
Linda is sharing a state of Texas appraisal review board today for this area, so that's what she's
Okay. Well, the last time I talked with the accounting person that's doing our bookwork was 10:30 last night. I received a call from him at 8:30 this morning. And finally, we both agreed on the figures. The historic building with the historic building fund check account and what they have in the restricted fund, they have $37,251.43. Would you give this to her, Sean? Thank you. That's pretty much my report right now.
Okay, thank you. I would like to take a moment to give you a huge round of applause because this woman has put hundreds of hours, I guess, into these financials, and she's finding things that we had no idea we had to find.
Oh, I did have one more thing.
Go for it.
Also, I've had Cindy trying to reconcile our bank accounts. We found out that our bank accounts have not really been reconciled totally. We've got checks still outstanding from 2015 and 2017. She has done that this past week, and she needs a hand also because she has worked tirelessly in trying to help me get these financials done. She works with Randy over in Del Rio. I've been working with Randy, but we have finally reconciled those bank accounts. Now we've got to go in and find out where those checks are from 2015 and 2017 and get them off of our accounts. So the membership needs to know these things.
Thank you. Seriously, great work, Debbie. Mr. Link, do you have a director on call report?
Yes, I do. Over the course of the last month, since I've been director on call, I've been called to the office a number of times to sign a number of checks, also to sign for the sale of 2 lots. I filled out and filed the protest letters for the tax increases that Debbie mentioned just a few minutes ago. I also contacted our insurance adjuster regarding a claim from the hail damage for the roofs. I had to speak to them about a couple of things and get some stuff cleared up. I was contacted about and addressed a number of member concerns and complaints on a variety of subjects. It ranged literally across the board from everything you're probably familiar with to some things that I never thought I'd hear. Facilitated communication with the membership via Facebook page. I know not everybody uses social media. I know not everybody's on Facebook, but those of you that are, I hope you appreciate the attempt to try to stay in touch with you. I do not have access to the HQ dispatch emails. I cannot send them, so if somebody's not in the office to send them, it has to wait until the person with access gets in. I attended the town hall meeting on June 1st and June 6th. I personally went to view several of the concerns that were raised by membership. On June 7th, I met with the Laughlin Air Force Communications Squadron to greet them to Fort Clark Springs. They were out here for the day, just visiting and enjoying the property. And I assisted in picking up 2 pieces of the new gym equipment from Del Rio, and then kept in constant communication with our legal advisors as we've been kind of navigating through a pending legal matter. That's it.
Great. Director, do you have any questions for the director on call? Great. Executive officers report. As you see up here, there's some photos that I've added, so you might want to talk about that first, maybe.
I wish Mr. Link would have taken longer, but...
Can you put the microphone up to your mouth, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So with the pictures, you see that we did have our pool beautification project, and I want to thank everybody that came out for that. It was a big help. There were a lot of people that showed up. and we got a lot done. Unfortunately, there's also negative in that. It took only a week for someone to come and stuff things in our toilets and break our doors, break our toilet seat, and break a sink. We gotta start policing our kids, and I say our kids, but when you're down there, you remember that's your pool, that's your place. If you see somebody jacking around doing something stupid, immediately call security, or if you're comfortable, go and say, hey, you guys knock that off. Matt and I get 2-day late reports. Oh, the other day I saw some kid beating on a sign with a stick. Well, what'd you do about it? Well, I'm telling you now. Well, when did it happen? Monday. Today's Thursday. We gotta know right away. We gotta stop this, because these people put a lot of time of their own for no pay just to help us get that thing looking nice, and it didn't take long for stuff like that to happen. So it's kind of discouraging, but we're not gonna let that get us down. We're gonna move forward. So yes, thanks to all the volunteers with the tree cutting, the painting, the benches, everything. It was a lot of help. I also want to thank Mr. Perkins and Jamie Borland, 2 others, and some kid that came out and helped cut down a tree that ended up falling. The little arch tree that everybody loved, it ended up giving it up. So
Pictures are up on here.
they came and cleared the way so you can still get back there and barbecue, enjoy the volleyball. Anyways, big thanks to all those volunteers. As you see there, we did get new gym equipment that was bought on Facebook, sell and trade, whatever it was. Mr. Link and Mr. Perkins did go pick it up for us. So, new piece of equipment, new treadmill. The 2 that weren't working were pulled out. Unfortunately, we can't fix them, so we're down to 2. We do know that there is cleanup that needs to be done in that adult center. That's gonna be a July project. We'll go in and clean out the adult center, all the stuff that doesn't need to be there, the metal that can be recycled, whatever. We'll clean the place up. I'm starting to see with a lot of people that want to volunteer and show up that just want to help. We're getting a lot of things done. And still, I'm working with 4 people. Workforce came through and gave us 2 high school students that want to work for 5 weeks. Workforce, Middle Rio Grande pays for it, or it doesn't. They're completely covered through Middle Rio Grande, but they do work for us. Unfortunately, 1 didn't make it, so I've only got 1. I think my 72-year-old employee outworked him, and he didn't come back. But Joe's a hard worker. No, Joe, he's a hard worker. It's hard to keep up with him. Let's see. We want to work on revamping the hunting program. We'll also talk about that more in July. I want to thank those of y'all that paid attention to the little pink notice that I put on your doors about keeping your trash in a secured can, not just putting the bag out 2 days before and letting the coons and the cats tear it up. It's a lot faster when I can just throw the trash and move on instead of having to rake it all up, pick it up. So thank you for those that are doing that. And in that note of trash, what I like to do before a holiday is clean the fort. So I don't like anything laying on the streets. So the day before, or the trash days that have come before a holiday, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, I want everything off the ground. So I have the guys go around and pick up all the white goods that are on the ground. So I'm asking the members, like for this 4th of July, we're gonna pick up trash Monday and Tuesday. So then you know the 4th is coming up. Please don't put a stained mattress out on Fort Park Road. Y'all have families, we have guests, we want the place to look good. But if I got a beat up sofa or a stained mattress on the main road when people are driving around looking at our beautiful fort, it looks bad on us. So keep from putting that stuff out until the day before, which is a Sunday, trash pickup. Just so it looks better when we have visitors, the company, families. The motel rooms. So I've got some motel rooms shut down. 6 of them for sure. And the reason is they're infested with fleas. So that being said, We're treating them. We have our in-house exterminator. We're treating them. But while they're shut down and we're treating them, we want to redo them. We want to pull out the carpet. We want to repaint. We want to put the new mattresses in. We want to gussy them up nicely. But they have to be exterminated first. So if anybody likes to help and wants to tear out carpet, buff some floors, underneath that 70s carpet is beautiful hardwood floor. Beautiful. We already did one. We scraped it down with a diamond plate rotary tool. It pulled all the gum and glue off. Put some polyurethane on after a few sanding passes, and it is beautiful. It's a really nice floor. That's what we want to do with all of them. So that's open to volunteers. If anybody's interested in helping out with that, get with me. We'll get some dates together. But with that being said, I've made a decision with the staff and the board that it's not going to be a pet-friendly room. We have responsible pet owners, and then you have irresponsible pet owners. If you've got, I just want to say the pipeline, but we have crews that come in that stay and bring their pets. Well, they're out working all day, and the dog's in the room for 8 hours. What's it going to do? Or they take it out right outside the door in the grass and let it do its thing, don't pick it up, and then it gets tracked back in the room. Irresponsible things. So unless it's a licensed service animal, it's not going to be a pet-friendly motel. We can't afford to close a block of a motel down because we have a flea problem. Saturday the 29th. It's going to be a big day if anybody wants to help out. We're going to be trimming trees. Each day, the prior week, I'm going to let one of my employees off so that I'll have a full staff, 4 people, on Saturday to help. We're going to go along the road, we're going to trim trees. I know some of y'all have areas that you have concerns with. We're going to try to get to them all, but our main focus is going to be the main roads, Colony Road, Fort Clark Road, Scales Road, and then we'll get into some units. I know Unit 1 needs it, Unit 15 needs it, mostly every unit needs it, so we're going to work on that. So please join us if y'all want. If y'all know anybody that wants to use a chainsaw. All we're doing is cutting, and there's a truck behind that's going to pick it up as it goes. We're just going to try and keep on moving. There'll be separate stations, not a whole parade full of people, but we'll have different locations on the fort that we'll tackle one at a time. Last thing, the concern with the illegals on the fort. Matt and I think we've caught 5. Mr. Link's pretty good about sending me a text, say, hey, we got a report, and we usually find them. And then our boys in green roll in and handle it, or the deputies. So if you see something, I think I said this before, and it's been on Facebook, if y'all see something that doesn't look right, just call it in right away. They'll probably knock on your door looking for food or water. The majority of them are harmless, they just want to get away. So if you see it, report it immediately, get as best of a description as you can of what they're wearing, which direction they're going, what unit they're in. Call it in security, call it the Sheriff's Department, Border Patrol, and we'll do what we can to keep it safe in here. That's about it.
Okay. Directors, do you have any questions for the acting executive officer?
No, not him, but I would like B.O.D. since I become the director on call. If you get notices, would you let me know so I can put it on the lot owners page?
Of course.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we're going to hear the committee reports. Airport, there is no report. Architecture Committee.
On Philip's note about trash,
Please come to the microphone.
on Philip's note about the trash, I want to say thank you to one of my neighbors in the circle who is 80-some years old, driving up Scales Road with his golf cart and his picker-upper and his dog Max, picking up trash. And he says he does it fairly regular. So, anyway, he had a good bag of trash. Architecture Committee report. First, I'd like to thank Ashley Collier for the 2+ years that she spent on the Architecture Committee, and she is now not meeting with us anymore. I don't have a breakdown this month, but we had 43 permits and applications. Most of them were for roofs. That's going full bore right now. The Architecture Committee has an email address now. It is arc@fortclark.com. If you have questions, a problem, whatever, email us and we'll try to answer you as quick as we can. We're also mostly here every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. And as soon as we go through our permits, we'll take open questions for anything anybody wants to know. Mr. Guzman just told me a little bit ago that there was a property over on Lamont and Dawn. Had a trailer sitting there forever, finally gone. It's taken years to get rid of that. We also had somebody in yesterday that is going to tear a property down on Payne that is a disaster. Another good piece will be going soon. The Fort's website, if you go to fortclark.com, move your pointer over to Fort, down to membership, and click on it, it will take you to a list of documents, not only architectural documents, but just documents in general that are important to the members. But that's where you can print the one-page repair application or a permit, look at the CC&Rs, and good information there. I guess that's about it.
Okay, great. E-Plan Committee? Okay. Golf Committee? Ms. Brown?
The golf committee this last weekend were sponsors for the Rock Springs golf tournament. They always come down and support our tournaments with sponsorships and help with the tournaments. So it's only right that we turn around and support their annual tournaments also. There were 3 teams from Fort Clark that went up and played in that 3-day tournament. So that was a good show from Fort Clark. And other than that, there are 2 benefit tournaments that are in the works that are being planned. One of them, Sunset, they just got to get their act together and tell us when they want to do it, and we're there to support them and have that tournament. So that's all that I have to report from the golf committee.
Great, thank you. Preservation? No, okay. Recycling?
Morning all. The end of May, we shipped 46 cartons off out of the recycle center. And probably we won't make any money. As I've mentioned before, the truck costs $400, and out of the 46 cartons, 19 were mixed paper, which means we don't get a nickel for those 19 boxes. Secondly, July 4th is a Thursday. Normally, Recycle Center is open, but in this case, it's going to be closed. And the last thing was mention the Fort Clark site. I'd like to work with whoever I can. The recycle guidelines need to be updated. So, however, should I be contacting Christina? Yeah, because I can't access those. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you. So just to clarify, on July the 4th, there is no recycling, correct?
Okay, that's right.
We will make sure we send a dispatch with that information out.
And I normally let the Kinney County Post know as well, because they publish calendars.
Okay, awesome.
All right, thank you.
I believe that was our last committee. Okay. So my slideshow is having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'm going to read the slides as we commence forward. Next we have old unfinished business, And the item that we have is the appointment of the director to fill the board vacancy. During the May board meeting, the board considered appointment of a director. The end result was a 2-2 vote for Charles Fish and Charles Kirby. But before we commence with the old business, I believe Mr. Sullivan had a point of order that he wanted to address.
I do, thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to move that action item number 6 be considered in front of the old business and the appointment of director. Action item number 6 relates directly to that as a petition from the membership, and I believe it should be heard before the appointment is made.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
So the board is being asked to consider moving item number 6 up to old unfinished business to do it in conjunction with the appointment. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, that passes unanimously. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to number 6, which is the petition. And I'll go ahead and move to that slide too. Okay. So on June the 7th, the board received a petition which reads as follows. The undersigned members of Fort Clark Springs Association respectfully request that the Fort Clark Springs Association Board of Directors accede to the wishes of the membership with regard to the appointment of a director to fulfill the unexpired term of Director John Hope by appointing the first runner-up in the March 2019 annual election, Linda O'Brien, to serve out his unexpired term. There is no section in our declarations or bylaws that specifically instruct a petitioner how to submit a petition, and therefore we revert to Texas law on the proper procedure. The only reference in our bylaws is the percentage of membership that must participate in order for the petition to be considered, and that is not less than 1/10 of the membership. So that's 10% of the membership. Upon review of this petition, it was discovered that it was not done correctly in accordance with Texas Election Code Chapter 277, petitions. The petition had several pages of signatures, many of which were not legible, resulting in the inability to validate the members who pledged their support for this petition. Additionally, this petition does not have a point of contact to which we could have called to get more information, and the pages were not numbered to ensure that we received all that were submitted. Although Section 277.0023 states that supplements, modifications, or amendments may not be filed after the date it's filed, I would like to propose to the board that we allow the petitioners 7 business days, which would be June 28th, to update their petition, at which point the signatures can be validated. If the board accepts this proposal, I move to table the appointment of a director to fill the board vacancy for a special meeting to be called after the petition has been submitted in the correct format and participants validated. So I'm going to go ahead and go down the board. Mr. Sullivan, do you have any issues with my proposal?
Several comments.
Please.
First of all, it was understood that this petition does not have legal standing. It's not the same as a petition calling for the removal of a director. Therefore, the intent of this petition is simply to make the board aware of the membership feeling, seeing that the board is sensitive to the members' desires. So as far as the legalities of it, that was not addressed by the petitioners. Although I did, when I had requested to be put on the agenda, I did say if there were any questions or further information you needed, you could have contacted me for. Thank you.
Mr. Lynn?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this real quick. I understand what Mr. Sullivan's saying about it not being a legal petition. However, not being able to read some of these names is problematic. Not having a printed name makes it really difficult to verify who everybody is. In addition to that, I see multiple signatures by multiple people. Well, if this is not going to be a legal vote, then why do we have members signing it multiple times? I understand you might have multiple lots, but consider that if you, well, for example, me and my wife, we both own the same property. So do we count as individual people on a petition versus we only get one vote for the board when we do an election? To me, this needs to be redrafted a little bit clearer as far as who's signing it And so it's very clear that they're taking ownership of being on this petition. So I would like to see us table this, give them an opportunity to correct it and address it then.
Ms. Isaacs?
Well, I noticed the same thing that Bill noticed, but I also noticed that there were some FRM members, signatures were on it also. FRMs do not get a vote.
Family recreational member.
Membership.
So my take on it is, you know, I read this petition and it's valid for members to be able to exercise their ability to tell us that we should consider something else. But truth be told, 49 of 49 that I counted of the signatures you couldn't even read. So it's not fair to the petitioner to say, here's all the people that I got to support, but don't worry if you can't read 49 of the signatures. Trust us. So we like to be able to do this right. We like to be able to validate it by the law. We don't have to give the opportunity. I think it's fair for us to do that since we do represent the membership. So I think it's a fair thing to do to give them a week to talk to their petition supporters and see if they can get this more legibly done and more formally done so that we can exercise that that opinion that they're trying to give us. So are there any the directors that want to readdress this?
I see you looking at me.
Well, we always start with you. That's why.
I believe this petition was overseen by Judy Winchell,
Okay.
so she would be the person.
Okay. So again, I'm gonna just put this proposal on the table, and I move that. Let me read it again. I'd like to propose to the board that we allow the petitioner, who in this case may be Judy Winchell. Is that you, ma'am?
I wrote the petition.
Okay, so then that will be Ms. Judy Winchell.
Excuse me, it was intended to be a informal poll of members. To my knowledge, no FRMs signed that petition.
Okay, ma'am. Well, we're not going to have a two-way discussion about it. I'm just validating that you're the person in charge of this petition. So I would like to propose that the board allow the petitioner, Ms. Judy Winchell, 7 business days, which would be June 28th, to update their petition in accordance with the standards that apply to us in Texas Election Code Chapter 277 petitions, and at which point we can validate the signatures, because that's very fair. If the board accepts this proposal, this is a 2-part proposal, I move to table the appointment of the director to fill the board vacancy for a special meeting to be called after the petition has been resubmitted in the correct format and participants validated. Do I have a second to that proposal?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second to that proposal. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. So Ms. Winchell, after the board meeting, I'll sit down with you and I'll show you where the information is so that you can get this done a little more. We're not going to have a two-way conversation. I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do after the board meeting. That way you have the tools you need to go readdress this, and you'll have until June 28th to do so, and then we'll validate the signatures and we will call a special meeting just to address this along with the board vacancy. Okay? Thank you. So we're going to move on to new business. The first item on new business is to discuss a plan for revising the rules and regulations. This is one of the 3 open-ended items from the last board meeting, or excuse me, the last board, that we will need to address. And so, give me just a second, I'll get to it. The proposal is that I presented to the board was that we read through these thoroughly, which were all provided in our board packets, and then begin discussion via email on each portion to prepare a draft for either the July or even August meeting, so we can talk about the draft and then vote on it that following meeting. So that's a proposal I submitted. Mr. Sullivan, we'll start with you if you want to provide some inputs on how you think we should move ahead with this.
Yes, yes, I believe we should move ahead. Helena McBride and others on that committee put in a tremendous amount of work and time and did a fantastic job. It probably needs to be polished here or there.
Mhm.
That's all.
Okay, Mr. Link?
Yeah, I spent some time going through these, but to really do this right, we really need to take a little bit more time, in my opinion. So I would like some more time to go through this very carefully, because going through it quickly, I realized that there's a few miswordings, there's where things were crossed out, what would be left isn't grammatically correct, so it needs, as Dan put, a little polish on it.
Right. Ms. Isaacs?
Well, as I was going through the bylaws, it goes back and it also says that the executive officer should maintain and recommend the rules and regulations, but we had a committee do this.
Well, just to kind of address that, the committee provided it to the executive officer, and he actually did go through it.
He did go through
And
it.
he,
Okay.
what the final product that you have is what he went through.
Okay, I did not realize
Yes,
that.
so he did do that. Not the acting executive officer. I suggested that we start this on email based on the fact that I'm fairly certain we can get the Word document that was used for this, and we can just take out chunks and talk about that via email, so we've got that trail of everybody's inputs. And if it takes more than a month, well, then it takes more than a month. But I agree that we need to go through it very thoroughly, and we need to have documentation of our discussion. I don't know that we need to have a workshop solely because there's already a product to review, and we're not gonna hash out stuff unless it's a really big deal that we feel we need to talk about in a board meeting. But if anybody thinks we need a workshop for it, I mean, we can entertain that as well, but I kind of feel like if we have the ability to read it and then put our notes on it and then chat via email, then we'll have a better written documentation of what it is we're trying to do.
I
So,
would also like to kind of work with security, because if we can't enforce these rules and regulations, why are we going to have them? If there's nothing to follow through, or security or the fort don't think that they can make them happen, then that needs to be a discussion also.
so I'll just go down the line. Are we comfortable discussing amongst ourselves what these proposals are and ironing out the kinks? Regardless, before it's voted on, we're going to have it all presented in a board meeting, and then the following board meeting is when we vote on it. So, Mr. Sullivan, are you okay with doing that?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Link?
Yes.
Ms. Isaacs?
Yes.
Okay, and so we don't have to vote on this, but this is just our discussion point. So we'll go ahead and move on to action item, or new business item number 2. And that action item is to consider disbanding the equine committee. The reason that this came up as an action item is because as we were going through all the contracts, and we've gone through every single contract, made notes on the ones that we need to start addressing. It's pretty apparent that the stables are now operated and managed by the fort. And we're doing that in partnership with the tenants of the horse stables, who are all in individual agreements with Fort Clark Springs. So the board is being asked to disband the equine committee to allow the fort to continue working with the tenants of the horse stables to further pursue the improvements and daily operations of the horse stables. So, Mr. Sullivan, do you have any talking points on that?
I do. I'm against this proposal because the equine committee is a board-appointed committee, and it provides an avenue of communication and control understanding between the board and the people that use the stables. The horse club is just that, it's a club, and it's voluntary. Some of the users of the stable may or may not be members of the club and would not necessarily by nature be represented then. The club is going to represent its members. So I think it's a useful committee. It doesn't cause a problem, and it does provide better control by the board over the use of the stables and the auxiliary occurrences that are involved with it.
Thank you, Mr. Link.
Since I've been on the board, which started in April, I don't recall the Equine Committee having really much of anything to report. In general, I'm kind of against having extra layers of things that we don't need. I understand that there was a need for the Equine Committee before. It seems like they've kind of fulfilled that task they were set up with. If there was a need for an Equine Committee in the future, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it again. As of right now, I don't see the additional need for an additional committee, particularly since I haven't really seen much work done by the committee since that agreement was reached. So that's my only comment on it.
Thank you, Mr. Link. Ms. Isaacs?
I kind of agree with Bill. There was a problem down there against a member and another member, and evidently it didn't get to the whole horse club. But like now, I have a contract with Fort Clark Springs. I pay Fort Clark Springs. If I've got a problem, I'll go to Fort Clark Springs. Horse club, we still have money in it. I do have a horse, 2 of them as a matter of fact, but we still have money, and we need to, the members down there need to decide what needs to be done. Not somebody that is not a member of the horse stable making decisions for the people that do have to pay out of their pocket. That's my thoughts on it.
Okay. My overall assessment of it is pieces of what both of you have said. Just like the leasing agreements that are at the airport for the hangars, those individuals go directly to the fort to deal with the requirements and the upkeep and whatnot, and paying their lease for that. We've gone and done the exact same thing in the horse stables, where we've told all the people who want to have a horse at the horse stables that they need to go into an individual contract with the fort. So this isn't saying the horse club takes over the stables. If the horse club wants to exist, they can exist, but the contract is between the horse owner and the owner of the stable, who is the association. So, and also the fact that, which you did bring up a good point, Mr. Link, that we haven't had an equine committee report since this new board has taken over. So I do see it maybe have fulfilled its purpose. It was very helpful in getting that agreement established so that we have an individual use agreement between each owner and the fort. But I do think that if in the future we need it again, we definitely entertain the idea. Are there any reattacks to this, Mr. Sullivan?
Just very quickly, I think probably we should look at being a little more consistent. For instance, we have an airport committee, but then no equine committee. We do not have a gun club committee. We do not have an art club committee. So maybe if the clubs are going to be the representatives of those groups, we need to be consistent in that.
Mr. Link? Nothing?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Ms. Isaacs?
Nothing.
Okay. I have nothing else either. So the board is being asked to disband the equine committee to allow the fort to continue working with the tenants of the horse stables to pursue further improvements in daily operations of the stables. Do I have a motion to disband the equine committee?
I'll make the motion that we disband the equine committee.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 3-1. The next action item and new business is to consider award of roofing contract. 3 bids were received. I'm sorry, am I interrupting your conversation? I was just waiting for your conversation to be done now. Okay. 3 bids were received and will be referred to as bid A, bid B, and bid C for discussion purposes until a decision on which bidder will be awarded the contract. The board is being asked to select a contractor. And I will also make note that if we decide that there are too many parameters to consider at this point in time, that we can move to table this decision pending questions being answered. So there's no pressure for us to have to make a decision if we still have several questions. So I am going to start with Mr. Sullivan.
I have no questions.
Oh, do you have any preferences or?
Well, the lowest bid, I guess, there's other details as far as what kind of warranty, et cetera.
Okay. Mr. Young?
Yeah, the three bids that are here, one of them is significantly higher than the other two, and in my opinion, kind of puts it out of reach as far as monetarily. Considering the other two, there's some significant difference in the wording, and one thing that I did while I was director on call was go down and look at some of the stuff in the horse stables, saw some significant termite damage and wood rot, and in one of these bids, they discuss not necessarily having included all of it, but part of what they put in their bid was addressing some of that and providing us an estimate for anything that needed to be replaced like that. It wasn't done the last time the stables were roofed. And you don't roof something that's not standing sturdy. It doesn't make any sense to spend the money on it, spend the time and effort on it, because you're going to end up wasting that money in the long run. Makes me lean towards that bid probably more than the others. But we have mentioned possibly splitting the work up too, which is something we could consider, and not just going with one, but splitting the work up between two contractors.
Ms. Isaacs?
Well, I'm like Bill on the comment with Company A. They were awful high compared to the other two bids. I don't think that would even be considerable. One of the Company B, they come in here and their guarantee was only a 2-year. Company C had a 5-year. Company B also showed that they had workers' comp. On Company C, they said Fort Clark Springs or the person doing it would hold all the insurance, so I don't know what that actually meant either. Y'all don't have your own, I think you're in the audience, do y'all cover your workers?
This isn't an opportunity.
Well, I just wanted that.
It shouldn't be asked.
Okay.
Well, if we ask the questions, then it's very clear who the companies
Alright.
are.
Okay. So that's my thoughts. I did see what Bill was talking about, but did the other company even have a chance to respond to that comment about the inside work?
I don't know.
I don't
But I'll give my
Those were my comments when I went over this stuff.
Okay. Overall, when I looked at our insurance in general, the insurance claim, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting a conversation. Oh, okay. Sorry, I keep hearing conversations out there too. I noticed in what our insurance provider gave us, it only addresses roofs. So what I'd actually like to do as well is ask our insurance company why the additional areas like the windows, the screens, I think some siding on some buildings, that's not addressed at all, and that would wind up being like a supplement to the insurance claim. But I do want to see that. But as Bill kind of touched on, you know, there's parts of both of these that are favorable. Bidder A is very well out of reach, but in addition, Bidder A didn't really provide any detailed description of what the services would be that they would be doing to those buildings. So I don't know that we can even really compare them. But Bidder B and Bidder C did provide some descriptions of what kind of services they would provide. There is nothing in our insurance that says that we have to pay one sole contractor. And considering that it is 25 buildings that need to be addressed, I think time-wise, if we gave bids to both, who both Bidder B and Bidder C support our community in various ways, in addition to doing other work for other members that we have getting their roofs redone, I think, and I could be wrong, but if we divide the work out and are pretty fair with the buildings that we give to each bidder, then we might be able to expedite getting these buildings repaired. But I don't know if that's something that we even want to entertain. I know that the acting EO has stated that It's a little more confusing to deal with two companies, but one thing that we will require is that they be in a formal contract that will be reviewed by the attorney, as opposed to just a handshake agreement as just accepting a bid would be doing. So I think if we have it all written out, very clearly stated what the responsibilities are from each company, then I think we can make it work to where we can work with both companies who both do provide good services according to their customer reviews. So what I did give everybody was a sheet of paper that had my proposal of if we were to split buildings up, maybe this is what we propose to bidder B and bidder C, and see what the cost would be. I'm not going to talk about the figures just because this is not the forum to do that, but we can talk about that in executive session. But that just gives you a rundown of the replacement value versus our depreciation, which I can say our deductible is $50,000. So we've got to pay for that, $50,000. But and we do have a storm account that we can go into to assist with that. So those are my inputs. But Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything?
I kind of agree with Philip that I think it could become quite confusing and could create some problems trying to deal with two different roofers. But I could be wrong too.
This one.
I'm a little torn, honestly, whether to split it up or not. I agree with you, I think it might get done faster. I don't want to add undue stress on the executive officer, permanent or acting, either one, when it comes to having more people to deal with. On the other hand, you pointed out there's some things that are advantageous in both of these. I think we should present the idea to both of them of splitting it up, see what their response is. If for some reason after that we decide we have to go with one or the other, we can always readdress that.
Ms. Isaacs?
I'm under the same thing that Bill just said. I'm kind of torn also. When you've got more people to deal with, it's going to make it harder for whoever is the DO or the executive officer. We do need to keep that in mind also. But another thing that kind of bothers me is that would be negotiations with the companies. Will we still get this same bid from those companies if we split it? Which would be something to think about also. I'm all about the money.
You want more money? Or you want to pay more money?
No, I don't want to pay no more money.
Well, I mean, let's see what happens. Let's propose it, and if they accept that and they bring in a new bid, and it's completely not something we can entertain, well then we can readdress that too.
Maybe you could have them
Can you speak into the mic?
Huh?
Mic.
Let's speak closer.
Possibly you could have them consider matching warranties. 2 years versus 5 years is a great difference and can be very critical when you have a problem.
Yes, sir. That's a good point. So, who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we do a little more consideration of these bids and what we're going to do. Do we need to get with the actual companies? Okay, so tell me what you want the motion on. To accept that we're...
So the motion will be, what do you want us to vote on? Do you want us to consider offering both bidder B and bidder C the opportunity to split the contract to where we're dealing with two companies and seeing what they will, if their bid will change, or if they're even willing to do that? Bidder B would be asked also to extend their warranty to match the warranty that bidder C is proposing. Or do we want to just pick one bidder? That's the motion I'm looking for. Which one?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we readdress this situation with both bidders B and C to the extent that I'd like to see what their thoughts are on splitting up the work. I think they both understand, they're both local. I think there's a benefit to working with both now and in the future. I think that we should also, as part of this motion, address the difference in the warranty between the two and see if we can get some consistency there. That I'm aware of, we do not have any significant water leaks currently. So pushing this back just a little bit further is not going to do us any significant harm.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion on the floor to go to bidder B and bidder C and talk to them about the potential of working, both of them working on these contracts and dealing with the warranty. And we have a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We'll deal with that this afternoon. The next item on the agenda is to consider the award of a door installation contract. And give me just 1 second because my slides came back up and I'm going to put them back up for everybody. Let me turn that TV on. Okay, so as that comes back up, a year ago we purchased a bunch of doors for the motel. We all know this. Attempts have been made to install them in-house, and that did not work out. An attempt to hire a contractor to install them was also made. That contractor quit. There was no contract that we could enforce with this contractor, so we had no ramifications for that. I believe we paid about $600 or $800.
$634 to be exact.
So we're $600 in the hole on that. Upon inspection, those doors were, oops, sorry, it'll get up there. Be patient, it'll get up there. At which point, after those doors were inspected, it was found that those doors were installed incorrectly as well. So last month we sought out bids, and we had a month to get bids, and only one contractor put in a bid. So that was provided to the board in our board packets, and we are going to talk about that now. So, Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything to address with this?
How did we request bids?
Go for it, Mr. Garcia.
We announced it in the last board meeting, and that's where the one and only bid came in from. Then I had talked to Mr. Link, and he asked me to reach out. It was also put on Facebook, I believe. Then he asked me to reach out to surrounding areas, Del Rio, New Valley, Eagle Pass, which I did, kind of with no luck.
How did you reach out to them?
I just got on contractors, Google contractors in Eagle Pass. I called 3 of them out of there, 2 of them out of Del Rio, another one out of Eagle Pass, U Valley.
Okay, thank you. Just concerns me a little bit, the only bid we got is one bid, that's from one of our members, I believe.
That's correct. The other contractors that we have here in town that have done work for us, one of them can't get to it for another 3 months, and the other one was just too much for him to handle on his own. It's kind of the same story I got with Eagle Pass and U Valley. Del Rio guy was supposed to come out with a partner of his that may have wanted to take it on. He gave me a date to meet me here, didn't show up. I wasn't going to beg.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Phil.
Mr. Lynn?
We all know this project is dragged on way too long. I think that the bid dollar amount is acceptable, in my opinion. I think that this is one of those projects too, where the installation of these doors, given the way that building is built, how old it is, it's not something everybody's gonna wanna take on. So you could have contractors show up, look at that building and say, you know what, I'm not interested in working in that building. It's not just a standard door installation. Personally, I'm happy with the bid and I think we should move forward with it.
Ms. Isaacs?
The only question I had is if we go out there and we give this bid, and are you comfortable with this guy's work? Have you seen his work?
I do personally know the gentleman. I've worked with him before
Okay.
on different projects. And not only on his bid is he going to install the other ones, he's going to fix what was bad with the ones that were previously installed. And it's going to be start to finish. With the other one that had quit on us, he wasn't going to paint, he wasn't going to trim, he wasn't going to do anything. He was just going to hang a door and go. What Mr. Ling said about opening those doors up, it's a different surprise in every door, the way they're built.
Well, that's what I understood. That's the reason I questioned, is he gonna be capable of doing what needs to be done? Unlike the other one got in there and, oh, I'm done.
Right, no, I checked into the ones that were already installed and the ones that are old doors, and he's seen them, he knows because they haven't been trimmed out, he sees what's behind those doors. That's brick and it's hollow rock and it needs to be filled. And he says he's capable to do it.
Okay.
The difference would be that we would be in a contract, a legally binding contract, that we'll have our lawyers look at as well. I also do agree that this is dragged on for a year, and the doors are not on the motel. And the 7 that are on the motel are very poorly done. I went and looked at them as well myself, and there's screws sticking out of the sides, which is a hazard. It's unfortunate, but we've been dealt a hand. We need to just move forward. And I believe if this individual, who does so happen to live here on the fort as well, so they have a vested interest in the success of our community, which is a bonus, because the money that we can generate from that motel is really contingent on having people want to come stay in those rooms, and those doors that are currently installed. I don't know how else we would get them done. I mean, your staff can't do them, right?
No, absolutely not. And the thing about this contractor being here, being a member, living here, if you're from Eagle Pass Valley or whatever, I mean, you can't see them from your house, so if they look like crap, well, I don't see them from my house, I got paid. But if you got to drive by them every day, everybody knows that you put them on and sees you, kind of held you more accountable for doing a good job.
I'll also add that this particular contractor who fixed for free the restrooms that were later destroyed, but at the swim park. He spent 2 days fixing all of that for free because he's a member and he wanted to give back to the community. And this is before we even asked about bidding for contractors. So I didn't even know that that's who the same person was, but it was a pleasant surprise. Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing.
Mr. Lane?
No.
Ms. Ivers?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to appoint or award this contract to this contractor pending a formal contract being drafted and reviewed by our attorney and then presented to the contractor for execution?
Yes, I'll make a motion, we do exactly that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next action item is consider time clock expenditure. 2 proposals were submitted in your board packets. And I'm going to actually have Mr. Garcia discuss those a little bit more. But the reason that we're being asked to look at this, because some of this is not, it's less than the cost that's authorized by the executive officer, but this apparently has become quite an issue, how we're tracking time. And in your packets, you were given a little more of a background to how that's being done currently. But we need to formalize this accountability for our workers and be fair to them and give them a fair opportunity to get paid for what they're doing. So Mr. Garcia, before we go through each director, I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to talk about it.
Basically, the reason we're doing this is right now our time clock system is you write it on a sheet of paper. I was here at 8 o'clock, I left at 4, or whatever. Anybody can write it in. I'm not saying we don't trust our employees, but things slip through the cracks. With what I'm proposing to put on here, it's a fingerprint or a swipe card, whichever one y'all decide to deal with. And it's more accurate, it dumps right into the system that we use for our payroll. It's less work on our staff over there from having to chase down everybody with their PTOs, their clock-ins, if they didn't write it in, or if their time card isn't legible. It just eliminates all that. You go, you stick your finger on it, the time you're there is the time you're clocked in. It's pretty simple.
Which was your preference again?
The U-attend, the RFD fingerprint scan.
This one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And they gave me a bid for it. We have 6 locations that we'll clock in at, and again, it takes care of everything.
Mr. Sullivan, do you have any comments?
I'm kind of surprised to hear you have a paper write-in time clock situation. It was sometime in the last 2 years we approved the purchase of a new time clock.
Yes, sir, at which point the CPA removed it.
That's correct.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, he removed it. I don't know his reason for removing it, but it was completely taken off. And that was also a punch-in system where you had a code and you put your deal in, which anybody can do. Hey, I'm late. Clock me in. Here's my code. Unless they give you your finger, you're not getting by that.
What was that?
Unless they give you their finger, you're not clocking in for it.
Philip, let me ask you a question. The difference that I noticed in between these two is one looks like it's a single fee and the other looks like it's a reoccurring monthly fee. Is that correct?
One is a single fee, and that's the higher dollar one. I believe it's considerably higher, but and the other one, there's a software that's a monthly update. Forgive me for not knowing much about computers and all that, but that's what that is. It's a monthly update on the software. And it depends on your number of employees. We're roughly at about 50 employees, give or take. So the more employees, the higher your software program is. I think this one is asking $50 a month or something like that.
Well, when I was looking at it, the numbers that are in the email, it's $104 a month. And in 6 months' time, we're going to have spent as much money as we would on the one that's just a single one-time cost.
Okay.
Did you speak to them at all as far as this one with the higher initial cost as far as software updates?
On the higher one, I did speak with somebody, but there's a bit of a language barrier. I couldn't really understand him. His accent was really strong in Indian. So, but they were supposed to have somebody else email me back, and there is a Jennifer that emailed me back that sounds like something I can understand. I haven't got back to her yet. That email came in the day before yesterday.
Okay.
But we don't have to make a decision now. I can get more information for y'all.
Well, my initial thought is unless future software updates are going to cost us a significant amount of money, this TimeLogix one would actually be significantly cheaper in very short order because in 6 months we're going to have spent more money on the other one. Does it function the same fingerprint scanner or card scanner?
You have the option of fingerprint or card.
Ms. Isaacs?
Well, I noticed on the U-attend that it does work with ADP and also QuickBooks. I did not see that in this higher dollar one anywhere in the documentation I received.
That's correct. Again, I also have other emails that they have sent me that I haven't been able to open yet.
Okay.
There's like 6 of them. It may show that.
And then my next question was, how many actual units were you wanting to purchase?
6.
6 total units.
Right. So they'll be in the main office. There'll be security, maintenance, golf maintenance, pro shop, RV park.
Okay, well that's what I had thought, but I just wanted to make sure, kind of figure out for sure where they were gonna be.
Yes, ma'am.
Because an issue with the old time clock was that someone had to stop down at the gate.
Correct.
To log in.
Right. And the argument was if I clock in here, it takes me 5 minutes to get there, and they're complaining about 5 minutes. I get it.
Right.
But with this, it's at your department. When you pull up is when you start. And the one in here will accommodate this whole building. The one in maintenance will have maintenance and housekeeping. Security will be security.
Okay.
Golf maintenance will be there, so on and so on.
But again, like I said, this time clock, this other one did not show if they did work with ADP or QuickBooks, and we have both. So,
Debbie, I want to make a point real quick. It actually does. On the third page, it says that easily transfer time data to payroll providers such as QuickBooks, ADP, Paychex, and Sage. It's in very small type, but it's on there.
Last.
Yeah, under processing payroll as a snap.
okay.
What's the total on the one-time charge?
It's a $918 is the one-time charge for the U-attend, and then it's $1,494 for the other one. And my comments are that I kind of feel the same way, that this one, the one-time cost is, as long as it includes the updates that would come with the software, I think that was a little more cost-effective. The reason why the board was asked to address this is because we have potential to have to be contracted to whatever the service is. So that's why it's on our purview to look at it. So I would say if we still have questions about it, what we can do is we can entertain a motion to table this and resume it as a possible board electronic vote, pending the information that Mr. Garcia is going to have to go find. Would anyone like to entertain that motion?
I'd like to make that motion. I'd like to give you the opportunity to follow up on the software update for that particular unit and see if it is something we're going to have to pay for, if it's something that's just included with the cost of purchase.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of tabling this and resuming it as an electronic vote via email, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we're going to move on to announcements. There are a lot. What's that, sir?
Members' comments? People signed up in the back?
Oh, they did?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I apologize, we didn't even do that. So I am sorry, that's my fault. Do we have an issue if we let members give them the opportunity to say what they need to say?
Absolutely.
Ms. Brown, did you still want to make a comment on number 4?
I do.
I apologize, I completely did not do that, but please feel free to come up and do that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Very quickly, in my occupation prior to retirement, I've attended a lot of board meetings. I mean, a ton of board meetings. And locally, I would have to say the one I admired most was Commissioner's Court, because they did adhere to Robert's Rules of Order, so to speak. But what I don't understand is why some of these open bids, and not just pertaining to the doors, but also pertaining to the roof, why these bids are not opened in open session, why the members are not given any idea of the financial burden that it imposes upon the members, and why there's no reason all of this should be done behind closed doors. When you go to negotiate the contract, I understand that. But as far as who are the bidders and the costs that they're proposing, I think should be information that the memberships should be privy to. The other thing is as far as seeking out bids, I realize that going on Google and internet and whatever seems to be the way to do things today. I personally know contractors that are literally illiterate when it comes to internet. And the old-fashioned way of putting it in newspapers, I've watched the paper in Del Rio, I didn't see anything. Uvalde, our local newspaper, I think those bids should be posted in writing so that it's more open than to just people you might think of to ask. And the other thing is I know a local contractor that was never even approached as far as the doors are concerned. We were not given any information as to how many doors are yet to be replaced. The whole door thing has been bungled from the very beginning. So those are my comments regarding
Thank you.
that.
Ms. Winchell, we've already addressed number 6. Do you have any follow-up to that? Okay, thank you. Mrs. Partlow, do you have any follow-up to number 1?
My questions have been answered.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Warren, number 2 with a question mark, and number 6. Do you still have questions on those?
Yes,
Okay.
but I don't think I can do 2 and 6, so I have to do 6.
Well, 6 has already been addressed, so
Can I now address 6 again?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I guess I've been a little remiss in everything in regards to, it's kind of a standard general question anyhow. I have not seen any bylaws, and I've not seen any policy manuals, and I apologize because we've been down here for a long time and I have not looked. Is there something in the bylaws or in the policy manual that says that whoever is the foul runner-up has to fill the seat? Or can the board appoint somebody? Is there nothing that says the highest point of votes gets the next seat up?
Ma'am, we actually addressed it at last meeting. There are 2 areas of the bylaws, and they both conflict. And so we have to revert to Texas law, which does not conflict. So,
Oh.
yes, ma'am. But we addressed that at the last meeting, which is why we are here today.
Are the bylaws on the website or something?
Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure you get them.
Oh, geez, Maria, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
ma'am. Thank
Does
you.
under 2 minutes, Bill.
It was.
And I do
Very
apologize.
efficient.
I need to remember to make sure I have this next time. So for announcements, the 20th of June, Dickman Hall, and the 27th of June, Dickman Hall Lounge has a happy hour from 5 to 7. The 29th, we've got the tree trimming beautification project. A dispatch is going to go out this next week with different rally points so that members can just meet up at these rally points. If you know that your unit is in desperate need of assistance, which we already know Unit 1, it's got a lot of stuff going on, please send us an email sooner rather than later, because today and tomorrow we're going to be going around and we're going to identify these areas, and you will start to see bright orange, I think it is, paint on some of these trees. That means they are going to be cut or trimmed or whatnot. So when you start to see that, that's why. 29th of June is the end of month golf tournament at 10:30. July 4th, which I'll talk about separately, is the community 4th of July celebration and karaoke at Dickman Hall. And July 11th, Dickman Lounge is going to have another happy hour. Speaking of, do you have something?
The golf committee's got a meeting today at 5 o'clock. They're talking about trying to do something for a tournament July 4th. I don't know the details yet, but they are meeting today at 5.
Okay, great. Well, more to follow on that. Regarding the community 4th of July celebration, the fort is taking the helm on that. And on this slide here is the information that we're going to share with you today. There will be a dispatch specifically sent out with all the 4th of July festivities. As of right now, we do have some premium sponsorship, which has been we're very thankful that we've got that to help fund the activities and the entertainment. The idea for the 4th of July is that we're going old school. The parade is going to be a traditional parade that we've had for many, many years, starting at Brackett ISD, lining up, and then the parade will start at 9 a.m. It's going to end at the Butcher Block, at which point we'll start the opening ceremonies at the Butcher Block. Retired United States Air Force Lieutenant General Chip Utterback will be our guest speaker. He's coming in from San Antonio. He'll be spending the night, which is really great. He's been here before. He's got family roots here, so it's very nice to have him back. From 11 to 7, we're going to be moving the entire festivities over to the swim park, at which point we'll have lots of live music, food, hopefully some vendors, games, and swimming at the swim park. The non-members who want to come utilize the swim park will have to pay the usage fee. At 7:30 to 9:30, we're going to bring everybody back to the Butcher Block for more live music, and then follow that up with a 4th of July spectacular fireworks show at the Empty Saddle. After the 4th of July fireworks show, we will have karaoke at Dickman Lounge. So it will just be one huge party to celebrate our nation's freedom, which is great. Our premium sponsors who have donated quite a bit, and we will eventually disclose that amount as well. But Strike, the pipeline strike company, they've pledged quite a bit of money. AAA Roofing, Partner Satellite, and I believe Elite Roofing is also joining that premium sponsorship list as well. So if you have questions about the 4th of July festivities, when you see the dispatch go out next week, just email the individual responsible for whichever portion it is you've got interest in. But get those floats out there on the parade, because there will be also some prizes for those winners. This next slide is your board member contact information. What we've also added to this is, that fell off my slide, sorry Joe. But Architecture Committee also now has an email address. It's arc@fortclark.com, so you can send Joe and his committee your emails referencing any violations, questions, whatever Architecture Committee related to him, and that committee will address those as needed. If you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, please do so. It's a member-only group, and your name may not be immediately approved because Christina validates each member off the Black system to ensure that we actually do have only members in the group. And as always, feel free to contact a director of your choice if you have any issues, concerns, or if you have an agenda item that you'd like to recommend be considered by the board. Did I miss any announcements? Great. At this time, do we have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss legal matters, contract matters, and financial matters?
I'll motion that we go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay. We adjourn to executive session at 10:50, 10:50, and we're going to be right behind us.
Y'all clean that room out? Huh? Did you clean that room out?
Yeah, we got chairs.
Oh, chairs. Partially. There's room to sit. I thought there's some good stuff back there. Woo.
Is the video on? We reconvene at 11:44 from executive session, and I have 3 things to report, and 2 of which we are going to be voting on. So in executive session, we discussed considering the termination of a contract, and essentially there's a contract that we are in that we were advised against going into by our attorneys, and after going through all of the contracts that we've been in, that we're obligated to currently, we've decided that we'd like to pursue the possibility of terminating that contract. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to seek our legal team's assistance in terminating a contract for services.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. I have a motion and a second to consider seeking our legal team to terminate the contract services that we have identified. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. The second item is to seek our legal guidance, our legal counsel, to proceed amending the bylaws. And the discussion points on that are that a few board meetings ago, the board elected to put all of our legal documents, all of our founding documents, to legal guidance for review. Upon review, there are several discrepancies in our bylaws that have been identified, and so the board is being asked to consider allowing the attorneys to engage, providing those recommendations for amendment, to which the board will review, and then we will vote as to whether or not we'll accept those. So do I have a motion to engage our attorneys to provide recommendations for amending our bylaws?
I'll make a motion that we send our bylaws and declarations to the lawyers to recommend to us what they need to do.
Before we get a second to that, ma'am, we had already sent them. The board had already approved doing that. So
Okay.
this is the end result.
End result of
Yes,
it.
ma'am. So would you like to amend your motion?
I'll amend your motion.
To what? You need to say your motion, ma'am.
I just rescind my motion to state that we are going to allow the attorneys to make the recommended changes to the bylaws and the declarations that they recommended.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and there's a second. All in favor signify by raising your hands. Motion passes unanimously. The third item that we will not be voting on, but we did agree to in executive session, is to authorize our treasurer to clean up our bank accounts. She's identified several discrepancies, several areas where money needs to be reallocated, and so we have given her the authority to proceed with her recommendations that she gave us. The last thing that I'm going to do before we adjourn is I'm going to state the name of the bidder that won the contract for installing the doors. It's going to be just 1 second so I can do that. There's a lot of stuff here. The company name is MK Builders LLC. They have been awarded the contract. It is an $11,000 contract. And with that, did I miss? Oh, yes, correct, thank you. The director on call, you're ready to give that up, huh?
It's just reminding you.
The director on call for this next month will be none other than Ms. Debbie Isaacs. So if you have any issues that you want to pass on to the director on call, please feel free to do so. At her address, which is treasurer@fortclark.com. Her backup is Mr. Sullivan. You're the backup director on call, sir? Unless you choose not to be.
I choose not to be.
Okay, so since Mr. Sullivan chooses not to be, we're going right around again, and I will be the backup director on call for the month of July. Director on call starts tomorrow and ends at the next board meeting, the July board meeting. And with that, the July board meeting is scheduled for July 17th at 9:30 in the morning at the board room. Have I missed anything else? All right, so with that, at 11:49, we adjourn this meeting.
Yes,